Inside Out made me cry. On the surface, it's an animated movie, but deep down, it struck a chord. And the secret lies in a real psychological framework called internal family systems, or IFS. How do these characters represent real parts of our psyche? And how are all the emotions in our head actually real? How accurate is Inside Out in portraying mental health practices? Can a movie really help us understand our own minds? These are the questions we'll explore. Let's find out. Inside Out was developed with insights from top psychologists to accurately depict our emotional landscape. The story of Riley, guided by her emotions, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, takes us on a journey through her mind. Each emotion plays a crucial role, reflecting real therapeutic concepts from IFS. IFS is a therapy model that views the mind as made up of different parts, each with its own perspective and qualities. The film demonstrates how these parts interact and influence our thoughts and behaviors, highlighting the importance of understanding and managing our emotions for overall mental health. The characters in Inside Out reflect a therapeutic tool called parts work. This method is used in therapies like IFS and ego states therapy, where different parts of the self are acknowledged and worked with. In IFS, the mind is seen as composed of various sub-personalities or parts, each with its own viewpoints and roles. These parts often interact, sometimes in harmony and sometimes in conflict. Much like a family, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust are Riley's internal parts, each playing a crucial role in her mental health. Joy tries to keep Riley happy, sadness helps her process loss and setbacks, anger responds to injustice, fear keeps her safe from danger, and disgust prevents her from making poor choices. By understanding and balancing these parts, Riley, and by extension all of us, can achieve better emotional health. So how does this differ from traditional therapy? Traditional therapy often focuses on a more singular perspective of the self, seeking to identify and change problematic behaviors or thoughts. In contrast, IFS recognizes that we are made up of multiple parts, each with its own needs and functions. Instead of trying to eliminate these parts, IFS aims to harmonize them, understanding that every part has a positive intention. In IFS therapy, the concept of harmonizing multiple parts of the self plays out in several tactical ways. Identifying parts. The therapist helps the client identify the various parts within themselves. For example, a person might have a critic part that constantly judges their actions, and a protector part that tries to shield them from emotional pain. These parts are seen as having specific roles and intentions, often developed as coping mechanisms. Understanding roles and intentions. Each part is explored to understand its positive intention, even if its behavior seems counterproductive. For instance, a part that triggers anxiety might be doing so to prevent the person from taking risks that it perceives as dangerous based on past experiences. Facilitating communication. The therapist encourages dialogue between the self and the parts. The self is considered the core, compassionate, and wise center of the person. By fostering communication, the therapist helps the client to understand and empathize with the needs and fears of each part. Harmonizing parts. The goal is to harmonize these parts rather than eliminate them. For example, if a person has a part that overeats to cope with stress, IFS therapy would work to understand the stress and find healthier coping mechanisms that satisfy the same need without the negative consequences of overeating. Unburdening. This process involves helping parts release the extreme beliefs and emotions they carry. For example, a part holding onto a traumatic memory might be guided to release its pain and adopt a new, more positive role within the system. Collaborative decision-making. The therapy aims to create a more collaborative internal system. For example, if a person faces a major life decision, IFS would help them consult their various parts to ensure all aspects of their psyche are heard and considered, leading to a more integrated and confident decision. This inclusive approach allows for a deeper and more compassionate understanding of oneself, promoting internal harmony and emotional resilience. It's surprising and impressive that Pixar made such a complex psychological framework a central piece of Inside Out. Does this imply they endorse IFS? While Pixar hasn't officially endorsed any specific therapy, their collaboration with psychologists and experts suggests a strong alignment with contemporary mental health practices. Inside Out was developed with substantial input from psychologists and mental health experts, ensuring the film's portrayal of emotions aligns with contemporary mental health practices. The collaboration aimed to accurately depict how emotions interact and influence behavior, supporting the film's educational and therapeutic value. Psychologists like Dasher Keltner and Paul Ekman consulted on the film to ensure that the portrayal of emotions was scientifically accurate. Keltner, a professor of psychology at UC Berkeley, specializes in the study of emotions and their social functions. His work helped shape the nuanced depiction of emotions like sadness and its critical role in emotional processing and social bonding. The film's representation of complex emotional dynamics, such as the interplay between joy and sadness, aligns with current psychological understanding that all emotions have adaptive purposes. This portrayal is rooted in research suggesting that acknowledging and expressing a range of emotions, known as emodiversity, contributes to better mental health and well-being. In fact, the proof is in the pudding, and numbers don't lie. A pilot study found that IFS therapy significantly reduced symptoms of PTSD, depression, dissociation, and affect dysregulation among adults with a history of multiple childhood traumas. Of the 13 participants who completed the 16 IFS sessions, only one still qualified for a PTSD diagnosis at the end of the study and at a 1-month follow-up. There have also been countless posts on community platforms like Quora and Reddit talking about how when nothing else worked, IFS did. For example, from Quora, I've been in therapy since March of 2016. My therapist utilized EMDR, cognitive behavioral therapy, Gestalt schema, and narrative therapy. Last October, my therapist decided to try IFS with me since nothing else was working. I was skeptical at first, so I began to study the IFS model. My therapist had little training in the model, so I contacted an IFS coach to learn how to incorporate the IFS model into my daily life. I still see my therapist, but 90% of my progress has been from the coach teaching me how to access and work with my parts. I have made more progress in the last 6 weeks than in the previous 3 years. I feel more hopeful, less depressed, and my PTSD symptoms have decreased. And from Reddit, I have been doing IFS in therapy, and it's the first thing in decades of treatment that has actually helped me start to process my trauma. I'd say it's pretty great for me. Inside Out has had a profound impact on audiences by providing a deeper understanding of emotions and their roles in our lives. The film showcases the importance of experiencing a full range of emotions, including sadness, which is often undervalued in society. This depiction helps viewers recognize that emotions like sadness are essential for empathy and connection. For instance, Riley's journey in the movie illustrates how acknowledging and expressing sadness can lead to greater emotional resilience and stronger relationships. The movie also highlights the potential negative consequences of suppressing emotions. Riley struggled to cope with her family's move, and the pressure to remain happy leads to significant emotional distress, illustrating the importance of allowing oneself to feel and express a full spectrum of emotions. Understanding and managing emotions is vital for our well-being. Inside Out teaches us to embrace all our emotions, promoting a healthier emotional life. Next time you watch the movie, think about how each character, joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust, reflects a part of you. I've personally been using this framework with a therapist, and it's been absolutely game-changing for how I view my life. So if you've been interested in optimizing your mental makeup, maybe look into this and rewatch the movie. Or if you've had experience with this or had any feelings while watching the movie, please share in the comments. If you liked this video, please let us know by clicking like, commenting, or subscribing. It's the best way for us to know how to refine the channel going forward.